Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nichol.
Thank you so much for dropping in today. This is a series that I started a little while ago, and I'm bringing it back. Today is Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. And this series, I am talking to high performance athletes, which I usually do, but this is an interesting one where I want to talk about injuries, recovery, and wellness. We dive deep into the physical and mental journeys athletes take to overcome setbacks and return stronger than ever. Sounds familiar a lot to me, but I know a lot of athletes out there that have gone through similar things, and I wanted to let them share their stories. So get inspired and educate yourself on how to care for your body and mind through every challenge as well. This is Series 13, Athlete Injuries, Recovery, and Wellness, and this is episode 117. Let me introduce the next guest that we will have on. Now, it's funny. This guest is a friend, and I've had the pleasure of meeting him in the strangest of places, but a fire hall in North Vancouver. We both like to give back, and we were sharing with Jack.org at that time a fair few years ago. So met him in a fire hall in North Vancouver. He is a force in parasport, excelling in both swimming and cycling on the world stage. Originally a Paralympic swimmer at the Rio 2016 Games, he retired from swimming in 2020. Oh, he retired from swimming. In 2020, he did a this doesn't sound mellow at all, 1,000-kilometer bike race where he found a love for it. And in 2022, he transitioned to paracycling, and quickly making his mark, becoming a mellow 3-time world champion and a Paralympic silver medalist. His journey to elite sports is one of resilience. After suffering a stroke at the age of 2, he used swimming to regain mobility. And look at him now, representing Canada internationally. It's great to see that he has reignited his competitive fire. Beyond sport, he is a broadcast and online journalism student at BCIT, one of my favorite places to go to, and has worked as a writer and editor for Evergreen Productions. His family is full of athletes, and he has a passion for storytelling. He continues to inspire both on and off the podium. I'm happy to welcome this friend, son, brother, swimmer, biker, Paralympic medalist, and storyteller, an all-around great guy, Nathan Clement. Let me bring him on. There we go. Nathan, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mercedes. Thank you for that very kind and just very nice intro there. How are you today?
I'm good. You did all of that. I love actually putting those together because I remember when I was competing, I would never reflect and think about everything that I'd done. And so I really enjoy putting those together and seeing everyone's faces being like, whoa, I did all that. So
Uh,
it's
uh,
awesome for me.
Working in TV, that's like my favorite thing to do is like
Yeah.
write these bios on like friends and then just
Right?
like celebrate them because it's such an honor. Like it's so cool. Like the world that we're in, just the remarkable human beings, whether it's on the field of play or off the field of play. There's just so many just remarkable people in the world of sports or around the world of sports.
It's so true. I want to talk about that a little bit more, but right now we're getting into the rapid fire questions. 10 questions you've never seen before. Are you ready to drop in?
Let's go. Let's drop in.
Okay. This is an interesting question because I don't know if you do this or you don't do this, but do you have a go-to pump up song before a race? Like, do you listen to music?
I do, yes.
You do.
It
Okay.
is "Downtown" by Macklemore.
Oh, keeping it Canadian.
You've been
Well,
Yeah,
he's like part Canadian because his
yeah,
wife's Canadian, right?
yeah.
Nice. Okay, good song. Number 2, if you could have dinner with any athlete, past, present, or future, who would it be?
I would say Terry Fox.
Oh, I like that. What an interesting human. Okay, number 3. Again, these are for the listeners to get to know you, so they don't have to be rapid. They're never rapid. Okay. Do you rather cycle uphill or downhill? What do you prefer?
I'm a little bit of a lunatic. I love going uphill,
You love the
although it's
grind.
more painful, But with a trike, I ride a trike and going downhill can be exhilarating, but also terrifying at the same time. So it's probably like one of the things like on a snowboard too, when you're going down like a really like sketchy run, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this could end badly any second. And
Do you
it's
do
kind of like this.
downhill? Do you do, like would you come up to Whistler and do, like, downhill biking?
I would love to like build a downhill trike,
Yeah.
but would be but that's few years down the road, I think. Like there is a guy up in Whistler and a couple people up in Whistler who have the
Yeah.
quad bikes, and I
Yeah.
would love to try that, but it
Okay.
looks absolutely insane.
I can get you in touch with them. I know a couple of them. It's pretty awesome to
Okay,
watch them. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Up at Crankworks, there's actually like a they have their own division and they do the races as well. It's so cool to see. But you're in a different you are in, like, a totally different mindset, full on race right now.
Mhm.
Okay, number 4. What's the one thing you never leave home without?
My shoes. No,
Fact.
no, um, I always carry, like, weird kind of, like, good luck tokens, so,
Oh,
like,
do you?
I'm a big Lucky Loony guy, so I always have, like, Lucky Loonies, like, even, like, you can't see it on my set right now, but
Uh-huh.
by this hat, I
Behind
have, like,
you?
just a line of, Lucky Loonies right there, and, like, every once in a
Okay.
while, I'll, like, take one with me.
I love that. That's always I sometimes I ask that as a question, like, do you have a, like, lucky charm or anything? So that's cool. Number 5, if you could master any other sport instantly, what would it be?
Instantly, wow,
Instant.
I'm gonna go I'm gonna go a little off the board here.
Mhm.
I Can I throw down 2?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. I would love to learn skeleton and master skeleton
Okay.
and paraclimbing. Have you seen para-adaptive climbing?
I have wait, were we at the Oval together and I was watching that?
I think so, yeah,
Was
yeah,
that for,
yeah.
an event? Yeah. And I was
Yeah,
just jaw dropped by
yeah.
that.
It's one of the coolest, newest it just got, game status in LA 2028, and
Yeah,
it is gonna be one of the most impressive sports, like, there's athletes in BC who are doing it. Seamus Bullion is one guy, I gotta shout him out every time I can.
yeah,
Just absolutely incredible athlete, and a lot of them will go up to the Squamish Valley and
okay.
just climb around in there, and it's just insane to watch. It's just
S
a phenomenal sport.
So much respect. I mean, they're so strong, it's amazing. Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
I skeleton and climbing. I mean, again, come up to Whistler. We'll get you on the track. You got a lot of, we got a lot of, networking to do up here. I love it. Okay. Number 6, what's your favorite snack after a big race? Now, how long are your races? I didn't even get into that with biking in
My
your
race,
intro.
it depends on what I'm doing. So my primary event is a time trial, and in
Okay.
my category and my para classification, we
Yeah.
do the shortest of the distances. So they usually range from 11 to 20 kilometers. So that can be about
Wow.
17, 18 minutes to about 35, 40 minutes.
Okay.
And then my road races are usually just around an hour. So they're about just over 30K to 40K. In Paris, it was a 42K race.
Yeah.
And usually, like for me, my body is so like broken down after a race because my heart rate is like sitting around like 190, 195 the whole time
Yeah.
beats per
Giving
minute.
her.
So I'm usually just like intaking anything I can, just inhaling pizza. So like if there was like a pizza in front of me, that would be my go-to snack, go-to meal, plus a ton of chocolate milk and
Okay.
just like living like my best like 11-year-old self. Just a dream like 11-year-old meal is what I would want.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, so good, so good. Okay. Number 7, what would you rather? A beach vacation or a mountain getaway?
Ooh, ooh.
I've had people probably say both.
I Give me a location with a beach and with a mountain
Oh, like
because
Hawaii
like
kind of?
Hawaii, um, I would love
Like, anywhere in Europe?
Greece. Yeah, anywhere in
Yeah.
Europe. I'm about to go to Spain, so I'm gonna be
Yes.
su super spoiled. I don't know when this comes out, but I'm gonna be in Spain. Like, I actually leave for Spain tomorrow on
Oh,
March 12th. So
yes.
I'm gonna be living the best of both worlds and for like the next 2 weeks. So I'm very, very pumped.
Whereabouts in Spain are you going?
Alicante. So it's in like the
Alicante.
southern bit.
Okay.
It's kind of like the little town off the coast from Ibiza. So like that's the
Oh,
area it's in. So this is a big like cycling mecca. Is like
yes.
Alicante, Calpe. You have a bunch of other towns along the Spanish coast there that is just world renowned for cycling. So
Yeah.
it's like
You're not
real.
going there to party, you are going there to train. Is there a
Yeah.
race there? Or is it just training?
No. Just training. It's mostly for, like, our get back into shape kinda training camp in a
Okay.
way where it's just, like, doing that endurance kinda training after a longer winter,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just, like it's more for the Eastern Canadians, but they've let the Western Canadians come along just
Oh,
because,
how
it's
kind.
like I know because it's always, like, decently sunny here or raining, so I'm always on the bike outdoors, so now it's gonna be
Yeah,
an actual, like, good to have a little change of
so cool.
temperature and scenery.
Very, very cool, nice. Number 8, do you have a mentor or hero?
I do. I I would say Elizabeth Walker Young was a huge mentor and huge hero to me when I started out in my swimming career. She was a decorated Paralympic swimmer, won
Yeah,
multiple Paralympic medals. And at the time, I was really just trying to figure out okay, what's my path forward? How
yeah,
do I get to go to these competitions that maybe I don't have like the most racing experience, but I can still get experience from going to these events to get the experience I was lacking.
yeah,
And she really just sat me down, helped me through the process of classification,
yeah.
what it's like to be a high level Paralympic athlete. And she did this all just out of her spare time. She had
Mhm.
family, she working, and she took time and weekdays, weekends just to help and support me and really guide me. And she's one huge role model and mentor to me. And I've been very blessed in my sporting journey to have had coaches like
Mm.
John Leckie, who really took me aside after my first soccer practice. I could barely run, I could barely kick a ball. And he
Yeah,
just said to me, "Hey, Nathan, you did a good job today. I
yeah,
just want you to practice your ball skills." And really, what he taught me as a soccer coach was doesn't matter if you're the fastest, doesn't matter if you're the most talented, all that you can be at the end of the day is the hardest worker. So I've had people like John, I've had people like Elizabeth, I've had my parents who've just been
mm,
absolute heroes of mine. So
awesome.
to make a long answer longer, I am just very thankful and fortunate. I've had so many mentors, role models, and heroes that I've been able to be around.
Amazing, I love that. Now, I just wanna go back to Elizabeth, because I always think it's interesting when your mentor then becomes, like, ingrained in your life and then they become your friend. That's happened to me, like, I have some of my best friends that are, like, family now because they were a mentor to me. Do you foresee that happening? Like, do they come that much into your life that they're kinda always there now?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I did an event about 2 years ago at a school with a member of the Canadian goalball team,
Oh, yeah.
men's goalball team, Doug Ripley,
Mhm.
and Elizabeth Walker Young helped coordinate that, helped get myself and Doug to that event, and it
Yeah,
was great seeing her. And I always see like Elizabeth in different places. So she was one of the co-chefs for the Toronto Pan Am Games in 2015.
okay.
So I saw her there, and then I always see her around Vancouver because you know what it's like in Vancouver and BC. It's
Yeah,
big towns that are actually like quite small, and there's always a good chance you'll run into someone at least like once or twice a week when you're in
totally.
either location.
Totally, totally, I love that, that's great. Number 9, what is your ultimate guilty pleasure TV show? Do you watch TV or are you a book guy?
I'm big TV person. I will
Mm,
say I go through about once a year where I will just It's not like TV show, but just binge, like, reality TV, like, compilations
I love
where it's just, like, nonstop, just again and again. It's like it happens, like, once a year, and it's, like, that random time where you're like, "Okay, I guess this is the week," and it's just, like, day after day after day of that.
That's awesome. Just shut off and, like, get into it. Nice.
Just
Alright.
feel the brain melt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, last question. If you could ride anywhere in the world, where would you go? I'm,
Ooh.
like, picturing you on the Great Wall of China or something like that.
I've hiked up it. Have you been up it?
No, I haven't been to
It
China,
is
period.
absolutely terrifying how steep the stairs are.
Okay.
Like, I would get down one step and then I would be rolling down.
Okay.
It would be great entertainment for everyone, but it would be
Right.
very painful.
Oh, man,
Uh,
man, man.
I would say, there's a couple places that have really, caught my eye.
Mhm.
Colombia has really become a huge cycling mecca.
Oh, okay.
And they've always had, like, great climbing cyclists there, but the road infrastructure is really built to where, like, I know a lot of friends who are going down to Colombia, whether for races, whether for training camps, so I'd love to go there, as well as Rwanda and a lot of East Africa. It started to really grow and develop, and Rwanda's actually having, for the able-bodied, a world championships there,
Okay.
this year. Para's not going, unfortunately,
Okay.
but, I would love to go bike through a lot of East Africa, like Rwanda, and I got one more. I had a coach and good friend of mine, go to Thailand
Yeah,
and say, like, northern Thailand up by, like, Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai has really become a cycling mecca, cycling
yeah.
hotspot.
Okay.
So, I would love to go explore that because I've been to the south of Thailand and I've never been to the north, and I would just love to get just enveloped and lost in that place.
Heck yeah. Wild. So cool, like, those are 3 places I've never been, and that sounds amazing. That was the rapid fire. Thank you so much for dropping in on that. It's never easy, but people get to know you a little bit better. Now I wanna dive into injuries in sport. Can you, like, give us a 101 of the injuries that you've had throughout your career?
So for myself, I've pretty well have injured like every part of my body at this point as a true athlete. But for myself, as I am a stroke survivor, so
Mhm.
I have one side of my body that is a lot weaker than my other. So I have full control, full use of my right arm and right leg,
Yeah,
where I have limited to no use of my left arm and my left leg.
yeah,
So when I'm training, when I'm competing, when I'm just involved in sport, I'm gonna have one side dominant
yeah.
and one side very, very weak. And over time, that takes a toll on the body, especially in
Right.
swimming, where you're only really moving with one driving force of a muscle. It
Yeah,
would cause for a lot of strains and tears in my shoulder. And there was actual times where I had to swim through tears in my shoulder just to qualify for teams. There were
yeah.
days where I couldn't even lift my elbow above my shoulder. And with that was very tough, but also with a lot of injuries and a lot of health concerns, it comes from the lower back. It comes from the
Okay.
back.
Yeah.
And that's usually the trigger point of a lot of problems. And because I am asymmetrical, there's
Mhm.
been a lot of like various things like with my knee, with my ankles, and so forth and so on. And especially with cycling, since I transitioned from swimming to cycling, it's really understanding how do I take care of both sides while nurturing that right side and letting it recover because the force that you take and the punishment of like potholes, bumps, you name it on the road.
Things I
and
never
it,
think about.
well, it's probably the same with like when you're
Yeah,
snowboarding
bumps
too.
and
Is you
snowboarding. Yeah,
bump
yeah, yeah.
snow
You
or
don't
like
think
if there's
about it though,
branches,
yeah.
you don't think about it, but you do feel it
Yeah,
afterwards. You're like,
definitely
why is my
feel it.
back? Why, why are my knees about to explode right now?
Yeah, no
But
doubt.
it's one of those things where like I've gone through a long list of different injuries all through my body, like even with my neck,
Yeah.
shoulder, back, hip, knees. I'm pretty well doing ankles, hips, knees, and toes song right now, but
You're
like
like, "Maybe I'll
the
name things that I haven't heard."
uh, I yeah, but with a lot of those injuries, one of the root causes of it
Mhm.
was I was too demanding on myself as an athlete, and I wouldn't
Okay.
really give myself that recovery time, especially when I was a swimmer. I would push myself beyond my limits,
Right.
and when that would happen, that's when I wouldn't be able to lift my elbow above my shoulder. So it's like that balance of really protecting, really taking care of that recovery, but
Yeah.
also self-care too, because if mentally you're fatigued, mentally you're exhausted, it really plays a toll and plays an effect on the body itself.
Yeah, and when do you think you learned that? Like, just, like, throughout my whole life, it took me my concussion to be like, "Alright, it's time to chill out. You need to take the time." Like, do you think it's an age thing where we, like, kind of tune in and we're like, "Alright, you're really pushing it really hard." Like, you wanna live the rest of your life in, like, a body that can hold you. Like, what do you think on that?
I think it came down to an actual training camp when I was in 2015, where I
Yeah.
was in San Diego. Now I was with like a lot of athletes, and there was a couple athletes that would go on to race for Canada
Mhm.
um, in that training camp, and I had a very like old school kind of mindset at that point, where it's like you push through anything, and I really wanted to prove that I was like going above and beyond at this camp, and I was just pushing in all these workouts where there was one workout we had to do in a 50-meter pool, which was like 25 meters underwater,
Yeah.
come up, then all out to the wall pretty well, then 25 meters underwater again, and then all out to the wall. We had to do that 16 times. And by like the final
Oh,
set, I had completely blacked out. I was not being able to see and feel where I was going,
yeah.
except for like a few seconds. I get to the wall, my body obviously, I was losing vision at that point, so I was going way too hard, and there was other camps, other days in that camp where I would be puking after sets just because my body was so being pushed to its limit, and
Yeah.
when I got home about 2, 3 days afterwards, I had not really given myself that time to rest and recover, and I was actually walking on the pool deck in West Vancouver where my club was, and as I'm going down the pool deck, all of a sudden, I just feel my vision go really blurry. I collapse. I luckily don't hit my head. I try to get back up. I can't get back up. My legs have stopped working.
Oh my god.
I'm drooling, and it's like, "Oh, no. Am I having a stroke? Am I having a brain aneurysm or something?"
Right.
So, my coach comes over, they've, like, pinned me up against a wall just so I'm meant to make sure I'm okay. I
Yeah.
get taken to a hospital when it was, like, -5 outside and,
Epic.
like
From the pool
epic.
to freezing.
From the pool to freezing, exactly. So, I'm in an ambulance. I'm only in my swim trunks going from
Oh
the
my god.
pool to the hospital, which is
Yeah.
like a 20, 30-minute drive.
Oh my gosh.
So, in that moment, I'm like, "What am I doing to myself? What
Right? You
what
had,
am I
like, this
doing to myself?"
epiphany.
It's like that aha moment. It's like
Oh
being
my
in a yeah,
gosh.
being in a Speedo in -5 is not it's not good for yourself.
It's not preferable, I'll tell you that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you had this epiphany and then, like, what were like, let's talk about, like, then you had that was, like, your kind of motivation to, like, chill out, think about your recovery more, and then what came into play with recovery? Like, what did you find worked?
I found the biggest thing, and especially with my condition as like a stroke survivor and as someone who has like brain injury and muscle spasticity, like even now my arms moving around, I'm not controlling at this point, but it
Okay.
just it does its own thing. So like the biggest thing, like with my condition and athletes with like cerebral palsy or dystonia like me, is you need that time to just to relax,
Yeah.
balance it out. So having a hot bath, getting off my legs, and just allowing myself just to decompress
Yeah.
and even sometimes disassociate can be really good. But there's also that balance too, where when I was a swimmer, one of the best things for me was actually getting on the bike,
Yeah.
getting outdoors, and just experiencing nature. I wouldn't be obviously going in a race pace or anything super intensive, but just getting outside, getting that serotonin, getting that dopamine hit just
Yeah.
from seeing the water going up a hill or just doing whatever I could. And because being in BC, we are so spoiled for
Uh,
scenery. We are so spoiled for
yeah.
just the abundance of everything we have around us. And I would just really use that to kind of be my mental reset, that mental check off, and
Yeah.
just have fun outside. And even when I moved from Vancouver to Ottawa towards the end of my swimming career in 2018, I I made sure once the snow was off the ground in like April or May,
Mhm.
I was getting out in nature and I was really just trying to experience as much as I can, but also giving myself that time to rest and recover. And
Yeah.
it's just really figuring out, and as you said, it's like something you learn through time and through experience and learning the wrong way to do things
Yeah.
and then trying to correct it.
Over and over
Um,
again.
over and over again, and having to be in an ambulance in -5, so
Yeah. Oh, man. I think that's, like, a
so
core memory for you now. That's, like,
yeah.
what sounds like it's your motivation to, like, slow down because a lot of, like, us athletes and a lot of people, at least in Whistler, um, are just so driven, you know,
Yeah.
and it's go, go, go that, like, when I was told to go forest bathing, I was like, "Are you wha that sounds ridiculous." And then I was like, "Oh, actually, I'm always on a mission to go somewhere, like, this is kinda nice, like, I don't actually look up in the sky very often, you know, like, you're always
Yeah,
so focused." So, like, I love that your motivation is, like, not having that happen to you again, probably.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but is there anything else you pull, like, motivation to slow down from?
I think the biggest thing is really real, and this is a if a younger athlete's doing this, it's absolutely incredible that they already have that mindset and that kind of athlete maturity. But
Yeah,
I know for myself, as someone who hadn't been to a games, who hadn't really been to the international level or had won a medal at that point, I'd had that mindset of I have to do this. I have to win a medal.
mhm,
I have to be a Paralympian, or in an Olympian's case, I have to be an Olympian. But as you get older, you realize how fortunate and how grateful that you are just to even be in a conversation for going to a games, let alone being able
yeah,
to do a sport at however old you are in your life. And it's just that perspective. And I feel like
mhm,
that perspective is so important because whether it's a desk job, a sport job, or just anything in your career, unless there's a deadline right away, you
yeah,
have time. And you
yeah,
have to give yourself that mental health balance at the end of the day, because if you press yourself too hard, it's going to affect yourself cognitively. It's going to affect yourself in that long term. And you're going to wake up tired. You're going to wake up even dreading going outside. And
totally.
just having that time to take that step back and have that perspective of what we get to do as athletes and what we get to do in this life is just a privilege and a gift.
Mhm,
And realizing that, really taking it in and appreciating every day you get to step out on the bike, even with the good days, with the bad days, and especially the ugly days. Like, that was the biggest thing for me, especially leading into Paris, was I
mhm,
had one bad crash in
okay,
June. And kind of from there, you have that mindset of being like, okay, I need to be on the bike, I need to be prepping, I need to be doing all I can. But I
mhm,
realized, okay, I've done pretty well 95% of all my training, all my fitness, everything that I could have done leading into Paris. I need to give my body a break right now. I need to let my body heal. I need to let my body recover, because right now I'm at a tipping point. If I go too hard,
yeah,
I can pretty well end my games right here. But I
right,
need to rest. I need to recover. I just need to heal. And
uh-huh,
then once I heal, mentally, I'll be ready to go. And physically, I'll be ready to go.
amazing. And how'd that go for you?
I've it was it was okay.
So when you said you had that injury, what did you injure?
Uh, Firstly, like my shoulder and like back, like I hit the ground. Luckily, my body was able to recover quite quickly
Okay.
from that. But more with that injury, I should add is my bike was completely damaged,
Oh my gosh.
and with adaptive equipment in pretty well parasport is a lot of these parts are one of one type gear.
Yeah.
So it was more just of like a mental concern because I had to ride with some damaged parts for a little while.
Okay.
And that was just nerve wracking at times going down a hill, being like,
Is it gonna
can it,
stay?
it, is, yeah, is the part I need to have working, is it gonna
Yeah.
work?
Oh my goodness.
And that was, like, more challenging than anything else was just have trying to find that confidence every time you're out on the bike, being like,
Yeah.
that little
Anything's gonna happen. Is this gonna bust
everything's
again?
fine,
Oh my
everything's
gosh.
fine, everything's fine.
Let's talk about, your team. Like, do you talking about wellness and I mean, the gym must be part of your life as well. When you're recovering, is it a huge team effort to kinda, like, get you into the gym and doing the right things and going to physio and osteo and, like, who do you go see?
I I'm very fortunate. I have a strength and conditioning coach
Mhm.
with UBC, Matt Fliss,
Okay.
who is just an absolute, just incredible human being. Where a lot of the work that we do is because for me, post flight and post travel, or even post race, post competition, my body can be out of sorts for days, weeks
Yeah.
afterwards. We just take that time to rest, recover, do a lot of stretching, do a lot of mobility work, as
Mhm.
opposed to pushing sleds or doing what the inner athlete wants to do. And
Yeah.
he does a good job of taking that step back and really
Okay.
allowing me to balance things out that way. But I also have a massage therapist that I see, seen since I was a swimmer.
Okay.
Um, Don Solomon, who is just he's helped me through so many different shoulder injuries, ankle issues, you name a part of the body,
Fixed
he's
it?
helped me heal from it. Uh, so that's been really, really, incredible and just amazing. Like, I have 2 people there who are really good, but also my coach too. If he can see something dipping in my training, because a lot of our training is on different softwares, different programs,
Okay.
because my coach actually lives in Ottawa and
Right.
doesn't live in Vancouver. So he'll be able to pick up on something, and then I'll reach out to him being like, "Hey, I'm not good this week. Let's take it easy." And we can find those balances there to really let myself rest and recover. But we have like a
Amazing.
good framework with like strength and conditioning coaches,
Mhm.
massage therapists, and even like my coaching supports that allow me to rest and recover.
Yes, and they're actually listening to you and looking at your body and knowing also when it's time for you to do they ever tell you, like, "Alright, we're seeing your video and, like, you need to namaste for a bit." Do they say
Oh yeah.
that? Yeah.
Oh, usually I'll argue with them, and
Yeah, yeah,
then
which I wanna hear that because, like, I there is this, like, mentality that, like, more, I want more, I wanna do better, da, da, da,
yeah.
but, like, it is really hard to take that time to relax, so it's you got everyone in your corner, and it does take a village, doesn't it?
It does, like, that it doesn't take just a village, it takes a country, like, just the amount of supports and, like, you've been a part of, like, the CSI sports programs, you know, like,
Yeah,
how many people, even though, like, we're 2 CSI Pacific athletes that have been a
yeah,
part of that, but there's so much people from Ontario, INS in Quebec, and just across there that are helping with all of us, whether it's team projects, when we compete, when we race, there's so many people who are going out of their way to support and just be there. And it's really just an never-ending army of people who are willing to give that selfless support, and especially in cycling with mechanics, with
Mhm.
different support staff that other sports don't necessarily have. Like the amount of times that I see mechanics who get up at 6 in the morning and then they're working on bikes till midnight. And then they're doing
Unbelievable.
that for 3 weeks, 4 weeks nonstop. It's just absolutely incredible. Like the amount of supports that we have as athletes. Like it
Yeah.
really does take a country.
It's totally true. I do wanna just say, if you don't know what CSI is, that is the Canadian Sport Institutes, which is, pretty much kind of like provincially, they have their own houses, and gyms for athletes and staff that really um, help us become the best athletes that we can become. So, for those of you that didn't know that, Canadian Sport Institute is CSI, and ours is Pacific, and I spent way too much of my life there. Too funny. All right, anything else that you wanna touch on today? I mean, I wanna talk about your broadcasting. Are you still in at BCIT?
I just finished my BCIT broadcasting a little while ago. So
Okay.
right now I'm actually working with Accessible Media Inc. or
Yeah.
AMI TV for short.
Okay.
And I do a show there that runs twice a week that talks about Paralympic and parasport. So we've
Yes.
started this in October. Actually, on Halloween was our first episode.
Did you dress up?
And unfortunately, no, I
Okay.
was away. I I actually look like a competent broadcaster, except for, like, all the
Good.
other times I'm on the show now, but,
Okay.
it's just been, like, really cool to be, like, a part of that and just, like, share athlete stories and share their accomplishments, their achievements,
Yes,
because we are so fortunate to be in this world of sport, and we are so fortunate to have incredible leaders, incredible innovators, and just people who are just overall fun people to be around and just
it's
good
true.
times. And just to have an avenue, have a way to celebrate these athletes and have their name be brought out into media so people know who they are. People can watch them, follow their journey, follow their stories is something that I'm so appreciative that I get to do at the end of the day.
For sure, for sure. I love that, and, we'll get into where they can follow you in a little bit, but I just wanna go over some takeaways, from this. I love that you like Macklemore, that's your pump up song, very cool. We're gonna have to get you up to Whistler to get on the skeleton track, and I hope to see you climbing at some point in time. But I really enjoy, you sharing your vulnerability with what happened, in the pool, like blacking out and coming to that realization, even though it was very cold in the ambulance, probably, you had that moment where you're like, okay, I think I need to like take care of my body. This is your body for your life. And it is important to take a step back, take the time to recover. And it sounds like you have amazing coaches and support in your corner that are not if it's not you telling yourself to slow down, it's them telling you to slow down, take a moment. I would love to get to know your massage therapist. I love me a good massage. And I think it's always cool when athletes share with athletes who they're seeing and if they can reach out to those people and get that support as well. Uh, Recovery and wellness is never easy, but nature is there for everyone. And I like that you touched on that, getting out into nature. It can be as simple as having a hot bath as well to take the time to relax. Um, Thank you so much for dropping in. Now I want to know and let the listeners and viewers know where everyone can find you online.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me, Mercedes. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and just having to get to know you over the last couple years. You've been an absolute like celebration of sport, and you've just done so many incredible things to give back, help others with athletes can. Because I ran into you at an athletes can event, like my first one with the forum in Vancouver in
Yes,
2023, and you're just always giving back, always celebrating the athletes, the
thank
people, and
you.
the characters that are around us, and we are appreciative to you.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
the the This is a weird way to transition it, but the best way to follow me is on Instagram at Nathan Clement 11.
Awesome. And then can people watch your show?
Yes, they can.
Okay,
So
where do they find it?
at
I want to find it.
on AMI TV or on YouTube under Parasport Nation.
Okay, wicked. Awesome. Thank you so much again for dropping in. I hope everyone's taken some good takeaways from this because I know I have. If you want more of Dropping In, you can go to droppinginwithmercedes.com and see all the episodes there. And don't forget to follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you for dropping in, everyone. Thanks so much for dropping in today. You can find everything you want to know about Dropping In with Mercedes at droppinginwithmercedes.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks DJ Kenosis for the music and my mom for the intro voice.